So I'm going to show you guys how to create a logo using Photopea, which is a website based editor that works a lot like Photoshop. So you don't have to use Photopea, but I recommend it because it works great. It's a little slow. I'm going to click on New Project, and I'm going to decide what kind of project I want to use or make. If I was making a poster, I would go 8.5 by 11, but I'm making something that's going to fit on the screen, so I'm picking a size that's the same size as my video screen, and I'm changing the resolution to 200 because 72 is really low. And it's going to give you a blank screen like this. Now, I already downloaded to the computer the images that I wanted to use. So I've got a brick wall and headphones and a guitar, and it drops them all in there as separate files like that. So I want to take the brick wall first, and I'm going to put that in my project. That's going to be the background, so I'm going to put that in first. I'm going to select all, and then copy it, and then I'm going to paste it into the project. So I'm going to go to the project and hit Edit Paste or Command V. Now it's really small, so I need to make that bigger. So I'm going to go to Edit and Transform and Scale. This is how you change the size of the different elements of stuff that you put into your project. Now here's the key. When I'm dragging it like this, I'm going to grab a corner, always the corner, don't grab the side. Grab a corner and hold Shift on the keyboard while you do it. If you don't, this happens and it gets really stretched out. If you've seen bad Photoshop where it's very obvious that the person or object had been manipulated, it's because they didn't hold Shift down when they stretched it out. Shift allows you to change the size of the object without changing the shape of the object, and so it still stays nice and square in the way it's supposed to. So I'm going to fill the entire background here with the brick wall and put it in there, and I'm going to go after the other elements that I'm going to use. So I'm going to go over to the headphones, and I'm going to select all. I can hit Command A or just select and hit all, and then I'm going to paste those in the same way that I pasted the wall in. Now notice it creates a layer every time that you put a new object in there, or every time you paste a new object in there. So I pasted the headphones, and now the headphones are their own layer, and that means I can manipulate the headphones without changing the brick wall. So I'm going to do the same thing and go to Edit, Transform, and Scale. Hold Shift. I'm going to make the headphones the size that I want. Now, I don't know exactly how big I want them. I'm going to go something like this, and then I'm going to put them somewhere near the center of the page here. Now, the idea that I had was to try and make, since I'm doing a rock station for New York, a skull and crossbones using two guitars and the headphones there. So that's why I've got the guitar. So I'm going to copy paste the guitar in, and notice also it's really small, so I'm going to have to change the size. So I'm going to Edit, Transform, and Scale. Hold Shift and grab the corner, drag it out, and that way the size changes but the shape doesn't change. Get it about the size that I want. Now notice this image, the background came with it. It's not transparent, so I need to get rid of the background. Now there's several ways you can do that. The way that I prefer is to use the eraser, and I'm going to make the eraser big, and I'm going to make it soft edged, so I'm changing the hardness down to 0. Now the reason I do that is so that as I erase, you don't get jagged edges. If you change the hardness down to 0 while you're erasing, then you get a really soft edge on your erase. Now because this guitar has a solid color background, I don't need to erase the whole thing. I can just erase part of it. Notice too that I only erase the layer that I'm on. So I'm on the guitar layer, and I'm erasing part of the guitar layer. If I change what layer I'm on, then it doesn't erase the guitar. I can zoom in more by going to View and changing the zoom. And there's a hotkey for that too. It's Command++. And that way you can zoom in and out on your image and zoom in for detail stuff and then zoom back out to see the whole thing again. Now what I want to use to get rid of this white section, now that I've got it down to that, is what's called a magic wand. The magic wand works if you've got a solid color background, which is what I looked for the guitar. Now I can just highlight it and hit delete, and it gets rid of everything that was a solid color. So I've got my guitar here. So I want this guitar to be white instead of black. So I'm going to go to Adjustments and Inverse, and that switches the black and white on it. That's all I did there. So now I've got a white guitar and white headphones, and I need two guitars. So I go to Layers and Duplicate Layer. And now you notice here that there's a new copy of that layer. I can take the arrow and drag the guitar over. There's a part of the background that when I was erasing that I missed because it was off screen. I'm going to erase that now. Now, one thing to remember is that this program does not autosave. And so if you're working over a period of days, as you might be, you'll need to save it as a project. So I went under File to Save, and it saves a project version of it on your computer. And so that way, if you need to work over it a couple days, you can open that file back up and it should bring you back to Photopea where you were at when you saved it. So definitely make sure that you save it before you shut it down if you're in the middle of a project. So I've got my two guitars. I want to change one of them the other direction so I can make the arms of the guitar cross like crossbones. So what I did was I went to Edit and Transform and I flipped it horizontally, and now I got to figure out how to get the two layers of guitars to cross over the way that I want. And notice I have to change the layers if I want to move and manipulate the other guitar. So I change back and forth between layer 3 and the layer 3 copy, which is the second guitar. So I'm going to go to Edit and Transform and Scale again. Hold Shift and grab a corner again. And just change it until I'm happy with the sizes of them. And notice again there's more of the black that was off screen that I've got to go through and erase, but I'll get rid of that. And once I change the size of one guitar, I'm going to change layers, go to Edit and Transform and Scale, hold a corner and Shift and drag and get both guitars about the right size that I want. When you're moving objects around, whether it's in Photoshop or whatever, there's a lot of times where you'll need to manipulate stuff until you get it the way that you want it to look. Now the headphones are cool, I like them, but I think I want to change something on them. I'm going to add a black outline around the white headphones so that they stand out a little bit. So I can go under Layer Styles, and this changes whatever layer you're on and only that layer. If I go to Stroke and make it black, then I can put a black outline around my headphones. So I'm going to choose the color I want and change it from red to black and then hit OK. And so if you choose Stroke, it'll put a outline around your object. You can also add a drop shadow to the object. You can do all kinds of different things, and those are under Layer Style. So now you can see the headphones have a black outline around them. I like that a lot better. Position them where I want them. Now I'm thinking I want to make it look like they are kind of spray painted onto the wall. You can change the opacity of a layer, meaning how see-through it is, over here where all the layers are listed. You go to opacity and you change it down lower than 100%, and suddenly you can see through the object. So if I make the opacity on all three parts of it about 90% instead of 100%, then you can see the wall through it, and that makes it seem like they were painted or stamped onto the wall instead of just, you know, photoshopped on in front of an image of a wall.